Hello everyone and welcome back guys to round 16 of season 4 of the F1 2020 My Team career mode, where today we're here back ready for the Singapore Grand Prix. Obviously if you guys missed out on the last video, I would definitely recommend going back and checking it out. But today though, back at Singapore, quite possibly one of the craziest racetracks we have had so far in the My Team universe. It's, always produced some brilliant racing. It's a track that I've never won at as well, if I'm not mistaken, in this career mode there. Season 3 was one of just 2 races our team didn't win. George Russell came second. It was, I think, the only race all season I finished off the podium. And in Season 2, I think, played host to one of George Russell's first ever Grand Prix victories, where we were sat just behind him right till the checkered flag. What will Season 4 hold, though? Only time will tell. Let's dive in then here for this Singapore Grand Prix weekend.
Information time. We've lost oil pressure. Looks like a leak somewhere in the system. We're on standby for the time being until we can patch it up.
So heading out onto the track then as soon as possible here for the Singapore Grand Prix qualifying session. As you would have seen just there, we did have a problem with the car for the second time this year. And it's looking like already the track started to just get a little bit slippery as we get ready to start our first qualifying lap of Q2 here. Yeah, I think, what's it, 3, maybe all 4 seasons we have had tricky changeable conditions in qualifying for the Singapore Grand Prix at some point during qualifying. But yeah, now we just got to wait and see as to just how bad the track is getting. Definitely don't quite have the pace to try and get right up towards the front. A few people did manage to get their runs in completely dry conditions here, but I do not want to be out in Q2 for the Singapore Grand Prix. But by the end of Sector 1, it's not looking great at the moment. Already a second down on Carlos Sainz as we try to just get the power down through the middle sector. Maybe the track will get a bit drier towards the end of the session, but I think we're clutching at straws at the moment. 7 minutes left of this qualifying session. We need to get this first lap in, even if it's just a woeful lap, just to try and put us on the board, and pray then that the rain stops. Almost put it in the wall. As we get ready to go over the Anderson Bridge, we do put it in the wall. Knocking the front wing ever so slightly there. That's not going to help our lap time whatsoever as we try to put the power down out onto the back straightaway. And yeah, at the moment, things not looking good. 4.4 seconds now off Carlos Sainz, who sits not even in P10, in P12 at the moment in this session here. So things not looking brilliant at the moment. And there we go. DRS has now been disabled, so the Inters are going to be the quicker tyre between now and, well, however long this rain continues to last in this session. But if we go out again through mechanical faults that we had no control over, bearing in mind we've got perfect durability in this car, we've done every upgrade we possibly can to it, I'm going to be very disappointed. Through the final couple of corners, we're going to be way off the pace there. Look at the understeer through the final turn.
Are you okay?
And well, if that wasn't our qualifying fate sealed already, that definitely is. P16 on the grid, ready for the Singapore Grand Prix there. Heartbreak to finish off our session here from Singapore. But once again, this track, always willing to claim victims here. Never does this place go easy for us as well. But that is us out then of qualifying for the Singapore Grand Prix. Not at all what we needed there. Hamilton only down in P10. He just snuck through. As you can clearly see, the track pretty much getting wet from the start of the session there. AlphaTauri seemed to be the biggest challenge to Mercedes so far in Q2 there. But any other major surprises? Charles Leclerc going out in Q2. Esteban Ocon as well. I'm sure a bit disappointed with that one. But again, wrong place at the wrong time with these mechanical issues. And we're going to be starting right in the thick of it here for the Singapore Grand Prix.
Here we go then, it's Formula One in Marina Bay once again, and welcome to all of you at home who join us today for this fascinating race around the baking hot, horribly humid, but very beautiful streets of Singapore. The Marina Bay Street Circuit then has 23 corners, 13 to the left and 10 to the right, taking us a total of 3.1 miles around the landmarks of downtown Singapore. An average lap speed around here, just 107 miles per hour. Anthony Davidson is here once again for today's Grand Prix. So, let's briefly discuss Lewis Hamilton. That was a great win in the last race. Can they keep that momentum going this weekend?
It's always nice to come into a Grand Prix weekend on a high, but your expectations are based much more on your practice and qualifying runs. So it's the momentum from those sessions that they'll be hoping to carry into the race today.
It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, and starting next to them is George Russell. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Bottas, Albon, Max Verstappen and Ricciardo, Gasly, Kvyat, Stroll and Kimi Raikkonen, Perez, Leclerc, Esteban Ocon and Norris, Mr. Monaco, De Vries, Kevin Magnussen and Nobuharu Matsushita, King, Latifi, Sainz and Antonio Giovinazzi starts from the back of the grid. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today?
Alright, this is Jeff. Can you hear me okay? We're further back than we hoped, but you can still get a good result from there.
So here we are then on the grid, ready for the Singapore Grand Prix, and I'll be honest, every time we come back to this track, I do seem to enjoy it just a little bit more. I was never always a fan of the Singapore Grand Prix, but when you consider the spectacle, the fact now it's been on Formula 1 calendar for enough years, I think this place is just starting to come a little bit of a classic here in the world of Formula 1. We start P15 though today. We're in for quite a difficult race ahead of us, I think, in all honesty. Hamilton obviously won last time out after another torrid day out for ourselves. So I think this one, yeah, might just be a bit of damage limitation. We're probably going to try and do a one-stop strategy here. We want to go... What do we want to do? I want to do mediums to hards, if possible. That was sort of my hope for this Grand Prix. But we'll wait and see as to what the game does reckon. Remove stint. There we go. Mediums to hards here in Singapore. So hopefully we can have a nice clean race ahead of us. Make sure we get through the first couple of corners nice, clean and tidy. I don't know why I didn't just use the other strat. Well done, Matt. Obviously we can afford to underfuel the car quite dramatically as well around this track. Plenty of time to be saving fuel, as well as there's a good chance we're going to get a safety car at some point as well here. But ready on the grid, round 16 of the season. We need another damage limitation race here today, it feels like. 5 red lights. And it's going to be lights out, and away we go. Responding rather well. Once again then, starts. I seem to have finally somewhat got a bit of a hold on as we get a clout in the rear. Down in towards turn 1. I think there was about 4 different cars trying to look up the inside through the first corner there. As again, we get another hit from, I think that was that Matsushita? Oh no, I think that was De Vries even, sorry. Giving us a bit of a wallop through turn 2 and turn 3 there. But we have survived the start of the Singapore Grand Prix. Latifi's had a good getaway after his brilliant result last time out. It was Giovinazzi even that did a worldie for Williams last time out. There is Ocon and Charles Leclerc, both trying to battle it out. We'll have a look at the inside of the young Frenchman. Obviously, if you remember back, was actually in the driver vote to join us for Season 4. Oh, how different it could have been for young Esteban Ocon here in the world of Formula 1. But heading down in towards what used to be the Singapore Sling for the first time in this Grand Prix. Hamilton on pole. Seems to be comfortably leading the way ahead of the Mercs here. We do still definitely seem to have a bit of a pace advantage over him as all Charles Leclerc very, very early on the brakes through the Anderson Bridge. Right around the outside. We'll take it. I'm going to P13 off the start of this Grand Prix. We do still have the quickest car in Formula 1 at the moment, so we should be able to make progress fairly quickly. Coming to the end then of lap 1. Hamilton does still lead the way at the end of the first lap ahead of both Mercedes and then the Red Bull of, I'm guessing, still Alex Albon up in P4 there. Max Verstappen. I can't believe it's been so long since I last recorded a video from this series. I forgot who drives for who now. There's Charles Leclerc there, trying to go for a big send through turn 3 there. But yeah, Verstappen's still splitting his former team's Red Bull cars. But we're still sat in P13. What is the run like on Lando Norris? Out down the Raffles Boulevard. We are closing in, but nowhere near enough. Running a very, very high wing setup this weekend could make overtakes difficult. Seems that there's a bit of a gap starting to form between the top guys, rather weirdly enough, including AlphaTauri and the rest of the field. Obviously, AlphaTauri do still have one of the best aero packages in current Formula 1, but we've got a decent run on Lando Norris down the Raffles Boulevard, up the inside. Oh, we thought about it, but Lando having absolutely nothing of that. Just coming off the brake pedal ever so slightly, and slams the door shut. But yeah, anyway, like I was saying, there seems to be a bit of a gap forming behind the Renault of Raikkonen here, just sat in P9. But yeah, the top guys all starting to break away, so we need to try and get past this little pack of cars as soon as possible here. And then we might have a couple of clean laps with some clear air. Can we try and get a run? Oh, Lando again, breaking a bit early over the Anderson Bridge. Seems to be one of our strong places. Around the outside again. Maybe this is just going to have to be an overtaking opportunity we're going to have to keep taking in this Grand Prix. Up into 12th here in Singapore. Good run on Sergio Perez there. That's probably been one of the best runs I've got out onto the Raffles Boulevard so far this Grand Prix. Perez aware of it though, is going to go defensive around the outside. In towards the next corner, there is a little bit of contact between us. We just get moved out ever so slightly wide, but luckily we both get away with it unscathed. And we're up into P11. Getting a good run actually out onto the back straight on Lance Stroll. The Canadian's going to go a bit defensive, but again, around the outside of another racing point. Down in the big braking zones at the end of straight. Stroll though going to try and keep the nose there. We'll give him the room, but we should have the inside for the next corner. And we're now up into the points for the first time here in Singapore. Raikkonen's been given a little bit of breathing room, but as you can just see coming through the final couple of corners, the Finnish driver clearly struggling for pace at the moment there. I mean, in this theoretical universe, I think Raikkonen's pushing up towards 400 Grand Prix now. I think he's definitely past his best here as Raikkonen defensive. Down in towards turn 1. We've settled down into a good rhythm. We're starting to be a bit braver with the overtakes. Around the outside through turn 1. Raikkonen going to come back at us. But we do move ourselves up into P9 now of the Grand Prix. So making good progress early on. That is absolutely critical if we want a good race here today. But yeah, the mindset around Singapore is so different than most tracks in Formula 1. You really do sort of attack this place a bit more like an endurance race. Unlike a lot of tracks where yeah, I don't know. I've just sort of play this track a little bit differently, try to be a bit more patient, because Singapore will bite back 10 times harder than you ever can. Oh, there we go. Got our first couple of people into the pits. I was going to say, those soft tyres definitely starting to go off. Gasly and Valtteri Bottas here into the pits as we set a new fast lap of the Grand Prix. Wasn't quite expecting that this early on in the race, but we will take it, and we're up into P7 now here in Singapore. Obviously, both Gasly and Bottas race winners in 2020. All over the back of Daniel Kvyat as we head in towards the final couple of corners. But yeah, AlphaTauri really do seem to have a little bit extra over a lot of the midfield this weekend. But there we go. Kvyat into the pits as well as George Russell for Mercedes there. So now, I think actually, yeah, a lot of the top runners also on the medium compounder tyres in this Grand Prix. Only Mercedes and AlphaTauri opting for the alternate strat at the top group. So I'm at a 5th. But I think, yeah, everyone in front of us now on mediums, whether they're planning on doing the same strat as us, well, I think only time will tell. After a few laps just to sort of stretch our legs, we have closed up the gap to Alex Albon and Max Verstappen here. So it is Danny Rick up in P2 there as George Russell, new fast lap of the Grand Prix behind us. So clearly the likes of AlphaTauri and Mercedes not giving up on this race just yet. We definitely don't have the legs down the straight to get past Alex Albon. We do gain a lot though into the corners here. Is all Albon going a little bit defensive, clearly a little bit worried at the moment. Doesn't want to risk any moves on Verstappen, because that is one driver who will certainly not give you an inch in the world of Formula 1. But yeah, we're not even a third of the way into this Grand Prix so far, and already, as always, Singapore has provided plenty of action as we chuck it over the big curves through the middle sector. Is Albon going to be defensive? Oh, a little bit. We'll see if we can get the power down on the exit. I've got a fairly decent run on the Red Bull. Think about having a look up the inside, but no. Not going to go for anything too risky there. We're almost right into the back of Alex Albon, as it's just giving Verstappen a little chance to just pull a few tenths away as we head down in through Sector 3. Getting a good run out onto the Raffles Boulevard, all over the back of Alexander Albon here, as both him and myself closing in on Verstappen as all Albon. A very aggressive move to go defensive, gets a lot of wheel spin on the exit, tries to slam the door on us again as we head in towards Sector 2 there. So the Thai driver really trying to get aggressive with us at the moment, but we do make the move work. We are up into P4 of this Grand Prix, and hopefully, well, I've been very optimistic in my way of thinking. Hopefully Verstappen won't give us such a big run, but yeah, this is the feisty Dutchman. Got a good run on Max Verstappen without the DRS. Hopefully this move should be a little bit easier as Verstappen really squeezes up to the wall, but much later on the brakes, try and hook it up round the outside. I'm up into the podium places now. Here in Singapore, 4 seconds the gap to Daniel Ricciardo. Lewis Hamilton's got a 10-second lead over myself at the moment, but now, again, we get a chance to stretch our legs, and you can just see instantly how much we're able to pull away from Verstappen and Albon straight out of the DRS window. As hopefully now, yeah, we can settle back down and close up some more. Oh, there we go. End of lap 11. Hamilton diving it down into the pits there. So the first guy from the medium runners into the pit lane. Very intrigued to see what our teammate's going to do in terms of strategy here as we head down towards the end of the pit lane. What tyres Hamilton onto soft? So very interesting call then by the team, putting our teammate Lewis Hamilton onto some soft rubber, so he's clearly two-stopping this. Medium, soft, medium? I'm going to guess, but I don't really know for sure. Maybe it's medium, soft, hard in this Grand Prix. Who really knows at the moment? We're more worried now about trying to close up the gap to Danny Rick. So we've taken a few tenths out of him on that last lap. Oh my, that's not good.
Mind that front wing.
So, suddenly, our race strategy gets changed just a little bit as well, and that is why you always need to remain alert on a street circuit here. It looks like we're going to have to try and... No, actually, we'll go on to hard still, but we'll have to get the front wing changed, and now take these tyres just 2 laps longer than I was originally planning, but still, not ideal. Heading down through the final couple of corners, under the tunnel grandstand, whatever you want to call it. We have made sure we're still going on to some hards. We have also made sure we're getting the front wing changed as well there, as Ricciardo is going to dive into the pits as well. So it's not too far off on the strategy, as this pit lane is horrible. Why, when things go bad, do they suddenly just get worse and worse in these Grand Prix? One mistake leads to another. It always feels the same way for myself in this game. I don't know why I keep making mistakes like that. 39 miles an hour into the pit lane there, and that's going to be a 5-second penalty that if we do need to pit again, we're going to have to serve. If not, then hopefully it won't cost us too much at the end of this Grand Prix there. Everyone flying back past us as we head down in towards turn 1. They're actually going to be out behind Raikkonen again in this Grand Prix, as well as Lance Stroll, as we get another warning for crossing the pit exit line. We need to get back into a rhythm, and get back into a rhythm fast here. Lots of mistakes are something you can accept from a rookie in their first season of Formula 1 here, but considering we're a 2-time reigning champion, we should not be making those sorts of errors this late on into our season campaign. Hamilton already made big inroads on us last week, and it's looking like he's going to do it again here today. So I think, yeah, again, this race still damage limitation at the moment, but first up, Stroll, don't start doing it again, Matt. Taking no prisoners now as Lance Stroll tries to go defensive on us. In through Sector 2, we've really got to just risk it for a chocolate biscuit at the moment. Up the inside of the Canadian and back up into the points here in Marina Bay. But yeah, we're just now trying to settle down into a quick rhythm. But we cannot afford to make any errors. Next up then, Kimi Raikkonen. As we head down in towards the hairpin on the exit of the Anderson Bridge. Can we get a good run on the fin? No. Big chunk of wheel spin in 4th gear there, as that just goes to show how much we're pushing the car at the moment. But yeah, we cannot afford to be stuck behind the fin for too long.
That looked bad. Are you alright? Let me know you're alright.
Oh my god. As soon as I say, have we got to try and get around people, we have made a catastrophic boo-boo in the Singapore Grand Prix. Our 2nd ever retirement in this series, and that is a bad one to make. Lance Stroll, I think, creamed into the back of us as well in that moment there. But, I mean, yeah, like I said, we've only ever had 1 retirement before now, and that was in Season 2 at the Dutch Grand Prix. We binned it fairly in the midway stage of that Grand Prix, but we lost both rear wheels in the process of that, not too sure how we managed that one as well there. But yeah, Hulkenberg-style error from Baku. I think it was obviously back in 2017, I think, in that race there as well. But that was appalling by ourselves here. We'll have a look from the third-person cam. As you can just see, heading into the corner. Raikkonen turns in just in front of us. We try to take a bit more curb. You can see we actually duck out ever so slightly there, straight off the bat. And just clipping the inside wall there with the front wheel. That time round we don't lose the rears, so not too sure what was going on there. But a poor, poor way to finish our Singapore Grand Prix there. Our first DNF in what? 50 races? I think just over 50 races in this career mode. Not what we needed here from Singapore, but it's a bitter pill to swallow, but one that we're going to have to take this weekend. Everything that could have gone wrong has done. And that's how we finish here in Singapore.
There's a few disappointed faces up and down the pit wall after that one, but not here. They've secured a phenomenal victory. Talk to me, Ant. What was it that set them apart from the competition today?
Well, I honestly feel it was down to the driver and car today. I mean, we can talk driver skill all day, but if you don't have a solid team to back that, you're never going to get anywhere. When you hit that sweet spot of having both an excellent driver and an incredible car, that's when you see results like those we witnessed today.
A show-stopping performance from the three drivers approaching the podium right now. It's been an interesting Grand Prix, that's for sure. And after this round of the World Championship, here's how things look in the drivers' table. Despite the best efforts of our championship leader, that lead has taken a bit of a knock today. Let's focus on the driver of the day. Anthony Davidson, who do you pick?
It's got to be Lewis Hamilton. I mean, he pulled off some impressive feats out on the track today, even by his standards.
Let's move on to the constructors. The current leaders continue to extend their lead at the top. Another team that excelled today was Williams, who make further progress up the table. And with that, we wrap up another weekend of motorsport. But with more races lined up, be sure to join us when we come back with more Formula One.
Oh, I don't know what to say. I'm just so gutted. You know, it's not often we make mistakes like that here on F1 2020. But, yeah, I don't know what happened today. Clearly just got in the wrong frame of mind after making that small mistake. And, well, yeah, just misjudged it. Sat behind Raikkonen in towards the final couple of corners of the lap there. And even worse for ourselves, happy Hamilton now a back-to-back race winner here at the Singapore Grand Prix for two different teams, no less. Pole position, fastest lap and race victory. Yeah, probably the one man we did want to see win this Grand Prix, but not good for our championship battle as well there. Ricciardo and George Russell finish off on the podium alongside him there, ahead of Albon, Verstappen, Bottas, Charles Leclerc, Lando Norris, Gasly and Sergio Perez, rounding out the top 10 there as you can see Daniel Kvyat not able to score points there from 8th on the grid after what looked to be such a promising start to the weekend there. But no major surprises down the rest of the field there, obviously, except for myself, the only driver not to make it to the end of the Singapore Grand Prix. Like I said, everything that could go wrong really has done here today. But championship-wise, though, 1 point now separates myself and Lewis Hamilton at the top of the standings there. Valtteri Bottas still waiting in the wings ahead of George Russell there, with both Red Bulls 5th and 6th place there. Verstappen gets a jump up both McLarens up into 7th there as they're tied in 8th and 9th place there as well. But that was the only movers we've seen this weekend there. Constructors-wise, though, 106 points the lead at the top. Williams are still ahead of Alfa Romeo as well. They're in 10th and 11th place as well. But 1 point, yeah, in it between myself and Hamilton. Oh, how things very, very quickly change in the world of Formula 1. 2 race victories for Hamilton and, what, 6, 8 points scored for ourselves in the last couple of weeks. It really has not been good. We need to regroup, refocus, and get ready for the Russian Grand Prix next time out. But thank you all so much for watching this video nonetheless. If you did enjoy, do make sure you get yourself subscribed. And yeah, 6 races to go of the season. This championship fight really heating up. You guys do not want to miss it. A big thank you to our channel members for making these videos possible. You can be featured in these end clips as well as granted access to some other exclusive perks for just £1 a month by clicking the join button below.